A new analysis every week. Our experts analyze the teams of the moment. Welcome to TGC Lab.
Hello and welcome one day more to our YouTube channel in the Game Changer. Today, doing one video in English. We haven't done a video in English for a while. We will be publishing this week, hopefully, Juventus with Jamie Hamilton. But yeah, today we are going to talk about the African Cup of Nations final between Morocco and Senegal. And yeah, it was an interesting game. There were many, obviously, people just watch a bit the result 0-0 before extra time, and they might think that is the typical game, the typical final, that there's no so many chances, that it's a bit boring. But it wasn't this kind of game. It was a very interesting game. We will talk about many details from both teams, and yeah, obviously we are aware of everything what happened during the extra time, all the controversial issues that happened during the game. But we won't be talking about these kind of things. We are more interested to talk about the game. So yeah, that's what we will do today. I think it was a very equal game. Anyone could won it, but at the end it was Senegal who won. It's the second time Senegal won the African Cup of Nations. The first time was in 2021, quite a recent one. And yeah, it was a special game also for Sadio Mane, that he said it will be the last African Cup of Nations for him. Obviously, he's getting old, and yeah, many interesting things to comment. Also, we want to talk about these two national teams thinking also in the World Cup 2026, because we think in Africa they are probably the two best national teams, also together with Nigeria. I think Nigeria did also a very good African Cup of Nations. But yeah, there are two teams that will be good to follow them for the World Cup and see what they can do. And today, to talk about this game, we have Tommy, who will give us good insights, who is also in charge, who will be in charge for the World Cup to discuss about Morocco. He has been following them. He knows them quite well. So yeah, we'll take more a bit the responsibility to analyze Senegal, and Tommy will be doing Morocco. So yeah, welcome Tommy one day more to our YouTube channel.
Thank you. Good to be here again.
So let's go and talk about the lineups a bit. So yeah, starting with Senegal, we had Mendy in goal. Probably you remember Mendy. He had a strange career. He was playing first in France, then he signed for Chelsea, and he did a very good season. The season after, he didn't do good, and later he moved to, I think I don't know if he's playing in Arabia now, but yeah, he's not in the Premier League, of course. And then in the defensive line, we have Diouf from West Ham, Niakate, you might remember him from Nottingham Forest. Now he's playing in Olympique Lyon. Mamadou Sarr, a very interesting young centre back from Strasbourg. Had Mendy in the right from Nice. He was actually Diatta was from Monaco, was the usual starting right back, but he had some food poisoning. There are rumors that he had some issues, so he couldn't play. So Mendy from Nice played in his position. And then Idrissa Gueye, you will remember him from Everton, from PSG, a very veteran player. More as a holding midfielder. Then Pape Gueye, who is doing a great season in Villarreal, who scored also the goal for Senegal. Then Camara as an advanced midfielder. We need to remember that Habib Diarra from Sunderland, he was suspended. Same for Koulibaly, the centre back who used to play for Napoli. He was also suspended. So in the front three, we had Sadio Mane in the left, Nico Jackson, the Bayern Munich striker, in front, and in the right, a very interesting player, Ndiaye from Everton. And yeah, later we will talk also about the substitutions, because they were important, I think, for Senegal. Remember also that the coach is Pape Thiaw, who used to be a former player who played also in Spain. And yeah, in terms of Senegal, they obviously Sadio Mane is getting old, but they have a young squad. If we look at the defenders, Diouf, Mamadou Sarr or Mendy, they are 20, 21 years old. Pape Gueye is also, he's only 26. Camara, also very young player, and Ndiaye, I think he's 20, 25. Nico Jackson, he will be around 24, 25. So they have young players that they can dream to have a great national team for the future. They already have a great national team, obviously, but yeah, in terms of looking also into the World Cup, it's promising to see the young players Senegal has. And yet they were players that they didn't participate much, that we know them from Premier League, like for example Pape Sarr from Tottenham, or Ismail Assar, that he came in the second half. We will talk about him later. But yes, and Asane Diao, who the winger from Como, who has been injured. And yeah, in terms of Morocco, we had Bonu on goal, Akraf Hakimi, the right back from PSG in the right. The two center backs, actually two left-footed center backs. It's quite weird to see two left-footed center backs in elite football, but yeah, we could see Aguer, the center back from Marseille, who we have an analysis about Marseille in Spanish in our channel, and he's an important player for the Chervi now in Olympique Marseille, especially in build-up. He can give great progressive passes. Then Massina as a left center back. Marraoui, who is more also a right back, he was playing in the left, he's right-footed. Then El Ainaoui, which is a very interesting player, quite young also, who is playing now for Roma. El Canous, who we will be speaking about him. We will be speaking about him with Tommy about Stuttgart in a few days. Brahim Diaz, the Real Madrid player in the right wing. Saibari as a left advanced midfielder, the PSV player, which is also a fantastic player. I guess Tommy will talk about him because he was important in the final. Then in the left, Abde. He's now playing in Real Betis, but you might remember him also from when he was playing for Football Club Barcelona in the Xavi era. And then El Kabi as a striker. So yeah, about Morocco, what players did you like, Tommy? Do you want to highlight any player in special? Football is evolving, and we want you to be part of this evolution. We have created a community for people who are passionate about the game and want to reflect on it. Inside the Game Changer, on our platform, you will find clips on collective and individual trends, set-piece actions from teams around the world, matches in tactical camera, monthly talks with professionals, and a space for discussion and reflection about the game among members. Get access to exclusive discounts on our educational courses and additional content. Join the Game Changer using the discount code TGCLab. You will find the link in the description of this video.
So first, I want to talk about maybe some of their injuries that they've had. Three, I think, really key players, especially from their run in the World Cup, that people would remember. Amrabat, Roman Saiz, and Unahi were all injured earlier in this tournament, that maybe started some of the earlier group stage matches. But I think that goes to speak of the depth of Morocco, that after 2 or 3 games, some key leaders were injured, and they were able to fill their shoes with equally as good players and maybe younger players. So this was valuable experience for them going into the World Cup. And then with the game itself, some of the players that stood out to me, for me, it was very much a a game that was played in the middle third, and in Morocco's case, on the left side of the field. So I was impressed with El Al-Nawi, Saibari, El Kabi, and Ezazuli. And forgive my pronunciation if I get any of these wrong. But yeah, I think you can see some of the qualities that El Nawi shows in Italian soccer, being able to drop into the first line, face forward, play passes between lines, and then I think defensively cover a lot of ground passing lanes as a single six, with maybe two eights that are joining in the front line pressing. And then Saibari, I think, found very, very good spaces between lines that they were the most dangerous for Morocco in possession. And then Etzazuli and Kabi maybe had different roles than you typically see from those positions, especially a target number 9 who did a lot of work between lines, dropping down, and Saibari would go in behind. And then Etzazuli, I think, had a very interesting role pressing wise. And we'll talk about that a bit later on, but those were the players that stood out for me.
And you actually didn't talk about Brahim and Akraf Hakimi, and we will explain why. They are obviously two top players, and Brahim Diaz did a great tournament, scoring a lot of goals, being the top scorer in the tournament. And we obviously all know Akraf Hakimi. Obviously, he's not in his best shape, but we will explain why we think that Morocco attacked more in the left side, and also credit to Senegal. But yeah, let's. I agree also with Saibari. I think he's an amazing player. He's having a great season in PSV Eindhoven, and I already heard that some Premier League teams are interested on. They have some interest on him. Let's watch now first the average positions of Senegal. Later, Tommy will talk about the average positions of Morocco. But yeah, in terms of Senegal, it was quite clear a 4-3-3. Obviously, Senegal did a bit of rotations with the ball that we will talk later about. And yeah, in the press they were changing a bit between 4-3-3 and 4-4-2. But yeah, it was basically the four defenders. We could see the Gay more as a holding midfielder, Pape Gay more as a number 8, and Camara a bit more higher up as a number 10, also to press. He was the player maybe to push and help Jackson to press the two Morocco centre backs, and it was more of a 4-4-2 at times. But yeah, then we can see Sadio Mane in the left, and Dia in the right, and Nico Jackson in front. So yeah. Then talking in terms of Morocco, we can see a bit quite interesting things with Hakimi a bit higher, with Abde in the left also quite high. What can you tell from Morocco, Tommy, looking to the average position?
I think the big thing for me is the two fullbacks from the base going forward on different heights. It was, I still think, a 4-3-3, but slightly asymmetrical with naturally Hakimi's qualities going forward. He's going to be the one stretching wide, and then Diaz coming inside. And so sometimes that looked more like a midfield diamond or 3 number 10s. And then sometimes 4 players between the lines with El Kalbi between lines. And I think that's where some of their best attacks came from, were those 4 players in those central spaces between lines, and then running in behind from those half spaces area. And then Etsatzuli and Hakimi keeping the width. But as I said, Etsatzuli is very high on both sides of the ball. He was the outlet wide with the ball, and then was very much pressing wise, was sometimes 5-10 yards higher than El Kalbi in those situations. And I think this does a good job of showing that as well.
Yeah, we can see here a bit Saibari position also in the left side. We can see Brahim Diaz more as an inside winger, no, with Abde giving the depth and the width in the left side, being a threat, especially in 1v1 situations. He was quite dangerous. And then we can see El Ainoui, who was a player that he can cover a lot of ground. And well, we know he's playing in Serie A and what he's asked to do with Gasperini in Roma. But yeah, interesting to see also Akraf Hakimi's position much higher than Marraoui. But yeah, let's go also to see the passing map. This is from Senegal. We can see this. I think Senegal spent a lot of time in build-up situations with the two center backs, and especially the Pape Gueye and Idrissa Gueye. We can see here is the most highlighted arrows that we can see here. But what I think also is Sadio Mane inside position was also interesting, and we could see many connections there because Sadio Mane was playing inside with Pape Gueye at times rotating. We will see it later. We could see also Nico Jackson dropping deep at times with a bit of freedom, but Nico Jackson was also a big threat in behind for Senegal. I think he did a great game in with the ball and without the ball. Then Ndiaye a bit more disconnected in the right side. Even he had probably the most clear chance in the first half for Senegal in a transition. And yeah, Lamine Camara also playing a bit more higher, a bit more between the lines, together also with Sadio Mane, and Pape Gueye being this player who was alternating number 26 to stay between the lines and stay a bit lower and deeper to organize. And in terms of fullbacks, I think we saw a bit more offensive fullback in the left with Diouf. In the right, Mendy was staying a bit more positional, staying more a bit in his position for transitions. But yeah, this was a bit the idea of Senegal, and now we will watch Morocco. Tommy, it stands out a bit the left side combinations, no? With Abde being probably the most influential player in the left side is Abde.
Yeah, if you don't mind going back to the Senegal, I just want to touch on one thing that I think links nicely to kind of Morocco's pass map as well. And defensively, I think the strong connections between Niakate and Gay were, I think, a big part of neutralizing Morocco's mid block, and kind of really narrowing it off, because El Kabi would sometimes kind of press it at a curved angle, forcing it left, and then Etsazuli would press the backside of maybe the center back or the defensive midfielder, and then that would initiate their press, where then they would try to keep the ball on the right side. And to your point about Mane in the half space, I think that was something that Morocco was more concerned about, Mane receiving the ball off the switch of play than on the same side. And maybe it was one of the ways they felt they could neutralize them. But at the same time, I think Senegal's base and short passing connection between the two center backs and sixes was something that was very fun to watch, and I think gave them a lot of control with the ball. And then if you go to Morocco now as well, as you can see, comparing it, there's very few connections centrally, and it's more of wide play. And with those wide play, it was a lot of fullback and winger kind of straight passes, or an 8 running in behind from the fullback receiving. Those for me were some of the biggest connections that they had. If they had a connection centrally, it was from a center back to Saibari, and there were a few occasions where I thought they were dangerous, where El Nawi was able to switch the ball to Etsazuli, whether it was a diagonal pass or a pass between lines to his feet. I think maybe those moments when those happened, that's where Morocco had some of their best spells with possession.
Yeah, as I said, we can see here in the left side, I think Masraoui connected quite well, being right-footed to Saibari, also between the lines or even to the space in behind. I think later we will see a photo of this. But yeah, as you say, very little central connections, totally different from Senegal. So we think that Morocco tried to progress more in the white areas. And then if we look a bit some stats from the game in terms of expected goals, as I say, I think it was not a game maybe for just a 0-0. There were some chances. We can see here 1.93 for Senegal, and for Morocco 2.82. So yeah, and if we see the expected goals during the first 90 minutes before that penalty that Brahim missed, we can see that it's very equal. It was an equal game. Also, if we see, for example, in terms of pressing, we think that both teams they try to press quite high. I think for Senegal, Nico Jackson was very important in these pressing situations to help Senegal to not always to recover higher, but also to not allow Morocco to build up centrally, as you explained. And I think Morocco had to play a lot of long balls, and this pressing intensity can highlight this. We can see here only the PPDA of Senegal is 8.6 in total. And yeah, in terms of ball possession, the feeling was that probably after Senegal scored, Morocco had more the ball, but overall during the first 90 minutes, I think Senegal had more the ball than Morocco, and Morocco was looking more for this mid block, in this 4-1-4-1, and trying to hit in the counter attack. At the first minutes, Senegal made a few mistakes that Morocco had some opportunities to hit in the counter, but yeah. If we look overall, it was a quite equal game in many aspects. And yeah, now we will discuss a bit about Senegal and Morocco there with some images, and also today we have some video. Let's start talking about some ideas from Senegal with the ball. Later, we will talk also about Morocco's press. But first, I wanted to highlight that in possession, Senegal had great ideas. And yeah, it was not easy to progress against Morocco's 4-1-4-1 middle block. We might remember also in the World Cup in 2022 how good Morocco was in this mid block with the 4-1-4-1. So it's not easy to progress against them, but yes, Senegal tried, and we can see here some of the ideas. Idrissa Gueye, the holding midfielder between centre backs, with Pape Gueye in this case, as we spoke, as a number 8, dropping a bit deeper, with Mané as a winger, but inside winger, in the between the lines. Then we can see Nico Jackson and Camara as an advanced midfielder, as I say, between the lines. We can see in this case Diouf, the left fullback, a bit more higher, and in the right, Ndiaye ready more as a right winger. And Mendy, the right fullback, we will talk about this also later, more in an inside positioning to open this direct passing line for the winger. We can see another example here. Another rotation that Senegal used, we continue to see Mané more. We didn't see much of Mané more wide, more in the close to the touchline. We saw him more playing inside, and then Pape Gueye, who is a left-footed player, left-footed midfielder, he was also dropping to do this line of 3 to build up with Idrissa Gueye in this case inside, and Camara again between the lines, with the left fullback Diouf a bit more higher up. This was different rotations. I think these were the two main rotations that Senegal tried during the game. And yeah, now we will see a couple of interesting videos from Senegal progressing, that we can see that they had quality to progress and to build up the game with in possession. One example, first one. Yeah, we can see here first Idrissa Gueye dropping deep between center backs. We can see Niakite playing this ball for Pape Gueye, who is left-footed, as we say. And playing to Sadio Mané. In this case, in this situation, Sadio Mané was wide. And Nico Jackson running into the space, which Nico Jackson is a great player for this kind of situation. And another example of Senegal progressing. We can see actually here, as we spoke, with the here you can see the possession, almost 58% for Senegal. This is minute 25. Again, Idrissa Gueye receiving between center backs. He plays a good ball for Ndiaye, who has great qualities for this kind of combinations. He's a good player, great mobility, very dynamic. And we can see again Nico Jackson improving the play and crossing from there. So yeah, Senegal had, these are just two examples of the different solutions that Senegal had to progress. And now, if we talk about Morocco's press, Tommy, we will see a couple of examples.
Yeah, so I think, as I mentioned earlier, Morocco definitely spent much of their time in a mid block, and I think there was a conscious effort or intent to force play to Senegal's right hand side, with the idea of maybe, hey, Mane's very good at running in behind, and Jackson's very good at running behind from the switch of play, or when there's more space on that side. So if you allow them to play on the side where both of them may be occupied, there's less space for them to run in behind, and there's more of a chance for them to win the ball back. That would be maybe my general understanding of their intent behind the strategy, and then the tactics of it. They definitely start from that 4-1-4-1 block, but I think most people would assume that when you start in a 4-1-4-1, that the 9 is the one who's always going to lead the press. He's going to force it one way, and that the midfielders kind of just shift side to side. That's not the case. I think often El Kabi did lead the press, but a very soft press, where then the second presser was the one who really accelerated the approach. And it was asymmetrical in that way. So Etsatzuli was often the one, whether it was to a center back, to Mendy, or to Idrissa Gueye in midfield, or Pape Gueye, whoever was the single pivot. He was the one to really initiate to keep play to one side. And so the first action, first presser could have been El Kabi, or could have been the right-sided 8, who I'm forgetting how to pronounce his name, so apologies there.
El Kunus.
El Kanous. So one of those two might lead, and then Etsatzuli would be the one to really engage, to keep play to one side. And one of the themes that I saw, whether it was the first line or the midfield line, there was a real diagonal line that almost looked kind of like a military block, where, okay, we're trying to force them to one side. And it became very, very evident. I think that's what's very interesting about Morocco's block, is they're able to do this and just completely leave Mendy free and open in this situation. I think some of the examples you showed with Senegal progressing is when they had someone in this half space behind Etsatsuli's jumping line, and so they're able to play a central pass to then play out, and that's what maybe caused Morocco issues. But they time this and do it at such speed that it's quite hard to realize, okay, how are we able to get to the free player on the opposite side? And so I think this was their general approach. And for the first 25 minutes, we saw with the PPDA, they didn't really press from goal kicks. They really sat in their mid block and looked to create turnovers and transition from this moment.
We can see here another example. I think they alternated, Tommy, between, as you say, sometimes it was one of the advanced midfielders pushing to press from inside to press the center backs, or at times was Ezabde from the left wing position. But we can see here a bit the 4-1, 4-1, and we can see here Marraoui struggling in this situation, because I think this is a progressive pass where he's in a numerical inferiority, where he has to handle two players, right?
Yeah, and watching this, I couldn't figure out if this was Morocco winning the situation or Senegal winning the situation, because Morocco very rarely wanted to send their fullback. I think most people would view, okay, when you're pressing with a back four and you're sending your winger to the outside center back, that your fullback has to go to the wing back, and then your back line shifts. But I think it was intentional, where they're like, we're not releasing our fullback to their wingback, because then we leave Mane, Jackson, or Ndai with space in behind. So I think they were okay with this pass that went directly to the fullback, where maybe there were issues where when it went in to out, and then Mesraoui or Hakimi felt they could go because there was an extra pass in the situation. And that half and half moment maybe is where they got hurt. But yeah, I think it was clearly intentional from Morocco, and it made me think of, okay, who's actually winning this situation. Senegal has a lot of the ball. They have players, I think, in the right positions. based on their qualities, and they're causing issues for Morocco. But maybe Morocco wanted that at the same time. So I thought it was an interesting cat and mouse game in this mid block, which I think was a majority of the game as well.
Yeah, I think Senegal also didn't want to release probably Antoine Mendy, his right back, because also he needs to defend later Abde, and if he spends a lot of energy attacking, no, and you already have enough players to attack with Ndiaye, with Nico Jackson, with Sadio Mane, with Camara, even with Pape Gueye. So yeah, we'll talk about his positioning later, the right fullback from Senegal, because in the second half when they changed to Sek, who came in, it was a bit more a defensive profile also to stay close to the center backs. But yeah, I wanted also to talk about the fullback positioning from Senegal, from Mendy, from Nice, 21 years old, because this happened quite many times during the game for Senegal, actually in both sides. And we saw here Mendy doing kind of a block, like a basketball block, to open this passing line for his center back to find Ndiaye, the winger. And we can see Mendy here blocking up his direct opponent to open this passing line. We can see here another example of Mendy trying to create some problems to Morocco. We can see here Saibari that doesn't really know who to cover, no, because he's a bit like hesitating if he needs to stay with Mendy or he can step to. I think this one is Camara. I'm not sure, but yeah. We saw Mendy playing in these inside spaces, but they also did it in the left side. We can see here Diouf, no, doing the same, trying to block his direct opponent to open a straight passing line for Mane. This happened less than in the right because, as we said, Mane was playing more inside. But yeah, at the same time, I think it was an idea from their coach, from Pape Thiaw, that he wanted the fullbacks to kind of block the wingers, the opposition wingers, and open this straight passing line to the wingers. And we can see here. This is an example of the second half, how Mane ends up receiving the ball wide, and then Diouf, the left back, attacks the space in behind, and they create a chance from this situation. I think after this Diouf crosses, and it's almost a chance for Senegal. And I think this was an interesting idea also from Senegal to highlight. So yeah, two more things before going to talk about Morocco with the ball and Senegal out of possession setup. But yeah, we could see how Morocco was pressing at times with the wingers, as we said. We can see here Brahim Diaz stepping to Niakite, the center back for Senegal, and we can see how Senegal they had solutions to progress in terms of third man situation. They didn't use it much. Obviously, it's a final, and we need to understand this. It's not easy to play this kind of situations under pressure in your own box, but at times Senegal they were able to progress with third man situations because their fullback, and as you say, Tommy, Morocco was not stepping fullback to fullback. So yeah, in this kind of situation, also through Mendy, the goalkeeper, playing these long balls to the fullbacks, they were able to progress at times. But the best chance actually for Senegal in the first half was a transition in which I think Nico Jackson did a great game in attacking the space in behind, but also in link-up play. He's a good player to drop deep and combine also. I think there's a bit of misunderstanding of him doing this, thinking that he's not able to do it, and I think he is. So when we imagine Nico Jackson, we obviously imagine a player who has the energy to attack the space in behind, but he's also a good player for link-up play. And we can see here a great ball he receives. He turns and he plays into the space for Ndiaye, and I think this is a great save from Bonu. It was a big chance because it was basically a 1v1 with the goalkeeper, with Bonu, and yeah, I think Senegal in this situation, they were obviously trying to build up when they had the ball, but they were also dangerous in transition because you have players like Ndiaye, like Sadio Mane, and especially Nico Jackson, which are also good threats in behind. Maybe Mane is not the same that what he used to be in transition, but he still obviously has the qualities and the speed for transition. And yeah, now if we talk a bit before going to Morocco about Senegal's press, it was, as we say, they alternated between a 4-3-3 and a 4-4-2. When they played in this 4-3-3 with Nico Jackson having to handle both center backs, I think Nico Jackson has this energy to do this double role press, and he did it many times. And Morocco had to just kick the long ball and fight for the second balls because Jackson he was able to guide one of the center backs towards the side, and Morocco didn't take risks in terms of build up. But yeah, at times Nico Jackson was helped by Camara, who will step up from his advanced midfielder position to defend more in this 4-4-2. We can see here El Ainaoui free between the lines, but Morocco, they were not taking, and we saw it in the passing map, they were not taking those risks to find him in midfield. So yeah, if we go now to talk a bit about Morocco, Tommy, we can see here kind of a diamond in midfield, right?
Yes, I think from deep build up, you just talked about it. Now he's positioned, I think, in a great spot, with three number 10s between the lines, with the two number 8s and Brahim Diaz coming inside, Mazraoui and Hakimi on slightly different angles. But the center back is already shaping up to go long. So I think we talked about that in the past map, just talked about it with Senegal's shape. Even though they look like they're in a numerical advantage in this situation, they didn't take many risks from this position and preferred to get the ball higher up the field and then establish their build up in the middle third.
If we see the next one.
So I think this is one of the qualities I was talking about with El Alnawi and Saibari as well. El Alnawi's on the ball. You have your two center backs kind of positioned on one side of the field. I believe this is him. And his ability to drop out face forward and then find a progressive pass into Saibari, and his positioning along with El Kalbi's, who's also between lines, challenge Senegal's center backs. Okay, and you can see them pointing who picks up him, who's stepping in, because Etsazuli is all the way wide, and also in a dangerous position. So I think this is when Morocco was most effective in possession, was when Saibari was in between the lines and El Kabi was between the lines, and they either found his feet or from this situation, hey, it's not on. They would swing the ball, and as you can see, it was very much like a 3-1 build with a triangle on one side, and then a kind of two-person relationship on the other, and then El Kalbi would sometimes be between the center backs and sometimes be positioned between the two sixes as a third number 10. So I think this was their most common theme in possession, was a kind of a back four that was slightly asymmetrical with Hakimi higher in a wide triangle. Mazraoui here, right-footed, actually clips this in behind to Saibari, who receives in behind, and they created probably one of their more dangerous situations from the first half. And so this is how I thought they got into Senegal's defensive third or box quite well, both sides of the field, and they get their best chance in the second half from a similar situation where Hakimi receives low, and then they're able to find an 8 making a half space run in behind, and they find that with more of a direct pass. So for me, this is that example. Hakimi's receiving between lines. They have those 3 players positioned. He's receiving deep. They have those 3 players positioned between the lines, and they both kind of run in behind. So you have, I think, El Kanous, who makes the first run in behind, receives the ball, and then El Kaabi also makes a run in behind in the box for a little slip ball in behind, and it's a great chance where he's 8 yards out and kind of no one in front of him except for the goalie, and misses. So I think this was how they were able to find success in attack, and as you can see, the middle of the field, especially kind of in deeper positions, has tons of space and very few players. But then between the midfield and back line of Senegal, they have a lot of players. And so I think that's where they were trying to do most of their damage. Again, you can see here whether it was a 3-1 build with the two center backs and Mazraoui, or a center back or center mid like El Kanous dropping out to face forward, or El Al Nawi. And then El Kalbi positioned between lines. So he's the one who receives this. And then Saibari is the one who kind of stretches in behind at the same time that allows him to receive it. So there's good counter movement between those two, and good understanding of who's checking and who's stretching in behind to allow that person to receive with space, because Senegal's center backs didn't really want to step into those positions.
Yeah, I agree with you. For me, in the first half, and I actually had these kind of images to also highlight the problem Senegal had defensively, because I think in terms of this kind of situation in the left side for Morocco, I think Saibari was the one who had more, who was smarter to move and to find space, and I think Idrissa Gueye at times he didn't know if to follow him, the runs into the half spaces, and also the center backs were with the strikers, so they couldn't go and move out from position, or they didn't want to leave, the striker in a 1v1 situation. So then they left Saibari free to receive between the line, and then Saibari was able to activate Esabde, who is a player who in white zones has a great 1v1 situation. And I think some of the best chances for Morocco during the game came from this left side combination, with Saibari carrying the ball forward, finding space between the lines, and then activating Esabde in the left. So yeah, we are going to talk now about the changes, the substitutions for me from Senegal, because they were key. As we said, Senegal has a great squad overall, and some of the changes, especially in the right side, that Pape Thiaw did, they changed the game. I think Senegal was even more dangerous in the last part of the game, in the extra time, and yeah, first of all, I think that during the game, we could see some parts in possession from Senegal taking a bit more risk, but I think towards the end of the game, we could see, for example, Sek, the right back who came in for Antoine Mendy, who was playing more as a third centre back to build up in a 3+2, as we can see here in the image. And you also needed fresh legs to defend Esabde, because he's a great player for 1v1 situation, and he was probably the most dangerous player in the left side for Morocco. So changing Antoine Mendy for Sek, he was already, in terms of thinking in defense, it was a great idea, and it worked well. And I put here also a combination between three players that they just came in. One Sek, we already talked about him. Then Mbaye, the player from PSG, only 17 years old, who came in, and I think he did amazing. We will see now a clip about him. And then Ismail Assar, that you probably remember him from Crystal Palace, who has been an important player this season, playing more as an inside winger behind Mateta, no? In this case, playing white with Senegal, and we can see this combination where Sek plays a good ball for Mbaye between the lines, and Mbaye plays into the space for Sarr. And yeah, before going to watch the goal and how we want to talk also about Mane, but yeah, I'm gonna show a couple of clips to where we can see how good was Senegal with the substitutions. First, we'll see a clip of Mbaye, who came in minute 70 something, 75 maybe, and with 17 years old only, doing this in an African Cup final. Wow. I think he deserved a goal there. That would have been amazing. Maybe it would change his career, because that was an amazing play. We can watch it again because it's fantastic. And also how he handles the body contact situation with El Ainaoui, and he still keeps the ball. And then also Ager, which is quite a strong player, tries to put him off balance, but he still keeps the ball. Wow, this is amazing to me. And also wanted to highlight the substitutions of Senegal and what Pape Thiaw, how he managed the game and the substitution. It was amazing. And here we can see another combination from Ismail Assar, giving a pass and move 2 times, and then putting this ball in behind for NDIA, another striker who came in from Nico Jackson. I was actually surprised because he took Nico Jackson off before the extra time, and I really didn't understand it. But I think at the end it was good because NDIA, the player who came in as a striker, he also did a good job. Even he missed this chance, but you can see here this ball from Ismail Assar and having a clear chance. That is almost the second goal for Senegal. And yeah, now I wanted also to talk about the goal from Senegal in the extra time, because you might not remember this, but the player who recovers the ball in the minute 93 is Sadio Mane. You can see here is a situation in the middle of the field that Mane anticipates well, recovers the ball, and then pass to, I think that's a small combination with Idrissa Gueye. They play Pape Gueye, who is a player who can carry the ball forward, and he has a great left foot. And from this position, a bit more forward, Pape Gueye ends up with the ball in the top corner. A great goal that gave Senegal the title. And yeah, I will show now a clip of Mane. I rate him so much because I think he didn't have his best game in terms of offensively. We can say that. Obviously, he has lost some qualities. He's not as dangerous as he used to be offensively. This is a reality. But the amount of work defensively that he still puts in at his age, and having won many things and being the top player he is amazing. The work he did, and we want to highlight it with one clip. So yeah, we can see here, this is as we spoke with the 4-4-2 press, a mistake, I think, from Saibali here. The air recovers the ball. A good chance for Camara here. We can see Mane in the left side of the image and how he recovers. This is Mane following Achraf Hakimi. And check how Achraf Hakimi also runs in behind, but Mane follows him. And imagine if now this ball is played and Mane is not there. It could be a clear chance maybe for Achraf Hakimi. But Mane is there, and this is a 2v1. Then obviously the ball ends up here, and then there's a block. But I think it talks fantastic about Mane, because look where the play starts. Look where he is. And many players in this situation, look at the scoreline, minute 48, almost half time, and he makes this effort to help his team. Yeah. So why we also wanted to highlight this is because we think one of the reasons that Morocco, they were not able to attack through the right side many times, it was because of Mane. Mane did a great job to defend. At times he had to drop deep to defend Hakimi, and two of the best players in the tournament, like Brahim Diaz and Achraf Hakimi, they didn't have the best the best game, and in part was because of his game. Obviously, for me, the defenders of Senegal did a good job. Also, and Pape Gueye, Idrissa Gueye. But I wanted to highlight Mane at his age, and I want to give him a lot of credit. And I think you might agree with me, Tommy, that Mane is an incredible player, because there's a lot of discussions nowadays in modern football to certain stars that they don't give you this work rate. And I think Mane is one of these stars that at the same time, we remember him from when he was in Liverpool with Jurgen Klopp, and how important he was also in the press.
Yeah, I think one, it talks about how incredible of a player he is, but more importantly, how incredible of a human he is. And these are his values as a person, I think, showing up on the field. And I think most attackers of his stature if they don't receive that pass or throwing their hands in the air and not running back. Um, but he's also, not only is he a superstar, but he's the leader and captain of this team, and I think he takes that responsibility more so than let me be the guy who scores the goals. So he will do jobs like sprinting 80 yards back to cover your fullback. Maybe saying, "Hey, I have to defend in a line of five at times," or follow Hakimi higher up the field and focus on defending for much of these 2 hours of play. And some people might say they're willing to do it and then don't do it, but he says he'll do it, and maybe he doesn't say he'll do it, and he just does it. Because I don't think he
Mhm.
is a man of many words with some of his kind of humble acts that you kind of hear about in the news afterwards. And then I know a lot of people will talk about this final about what happened at the end of regulation, um, and I think if Twitter is right, which it's not always right. He's the one talking about, hey, let's finish this game with integrity. Let's come back on the field, even if we don't agree with what happened. And I think that speaks volumes on who he is as a person and the type of leader he is. And I'm sure when you look forward and we're talking about the World Cup for both of these teams, those are qualities that help you win in tournaments. And it's
Mhm.
Sadio Mane is probably one of the best that you'll see at the World Cup with that. So yeah, I have a ton of respect for him.
Mhm. Yeah, it was his last game in African Cup of Nations, representing Senegal. And yeah, we haven't gone through what happened, but yeah, basically to just explain it shortly, Senegal scored a goal in a set piece situation that it was disallowed for a like a situation that probably it wasn't a foul, and then the Senegal players and coaches they didn't agree with that, but the game continued, and then in the last minute, or very close to the last minute, Morocco got a penalty again from a situation also a bit controversial, that well, it was given a penalty, then the Senegal players left the field, they came back, and then there was this penalty from Brahim that we don't know if he actually missed it in purpose or not. It was just a Panenka, and yeah, after this, the game continued, and in the extra time, Senegal won. As we say, it was a very equal game, and anyone could win. If Morocco won that game, was also fair, but Senegal also deserved it. And yeah, thinking now a bit in the future, for these two national teams, for Morocco and for Senegal. What are your thoughts for thinking in the World Cup? Do you think, would you put them between your favorites to at least arrive to maybe to semi-finals or to quarterfinals? I think they have the players. They have good quality. Obviously, there are many great national teams like Argentina, Spain, Germany, Brazil, maybe not in a good moment, but Ancelotti is now there trying to do something great for the World Cup. So yeah, we already saw Morocco arriving into semi-finals. Last time Senegal, I think they lost against England. But yeah, what are your thoughts on them thinking in the World Cup?
I think they both have a very strong chance to be in the quarters. And then who knows, maybe semis from that. Uh, but I think this tournament, especially for Senegal in this situation, does a lot of good for both. They've played in intercontinental tournament 6 months before the World Cup. This is valuable experience that many of these teams in Copa America or Euros, the last time they felt it was 24, maybe 24. And so that recent experience, that shared experience, I think is really positive for both teams. I think given Morocco and how the game ended, there might have to be some kind of psychological repair of that so they're ready for the tournament. I do think they both play a game that's suited for kind of tournament play, especially in the American heat where they're maybe compact and more in a mid block and then look to use transition to score goals and maybe create some of their best chances. I like Senegal's approach a little bit better than Morocco's, because it's in my mind it's more about having possession to do that instead of defending. But that has seemed to work recently, to make deep runs into tournament play with France. Croatia, I think, did a lot of that as well. Morocco as well. So I think that is a recipe for success. Even England at times did that. So yeah, I think they both have a very good chance, and it's up to the draw as well.
Yeah, being a bit more pragmatic in this kind of tournaments, and we have seen also Real Madrid in Champions League. It's different than doing it in the league in with more games. No, and obviously with more games you cannot be that pragmatic. Is more difficult, and sometimes you need to control more the games through possession. And yeah, in general, Senegal did this a bit better than Morocco during that game. But yeah, also two African coaches like Walid Regragui and Pape Thiaw. That is not common. During many years, we have seen coaches not African coaches leading some of the national teams in Africa. But yeah, it will be interesting to follow them. We will be talking about them for the World Cup. And yeah, hopefully they can do a great work in the World Cup. And yeah, just thank you so much for listening to us. Don't forget to give us a like, to subscribe to our channel, and to join our coaching community. We have people from all over the world where we share games in tactical camp. We share clips also about set piece situations, about collective ideas, individual ideas, and yeah, we are every day more and more people in our group. We also have a WhatsApp group, and yeah, we would like to continue giving you this kind of content in the future. And yeah, it was great to talk with you, Tommy, to talk about two different teams that we have actually not been talking about in our channel. And yeah, you will be discussing hopefully with Jamie Inter Arsenal in a couple of days. And yeah, I hope to see you soon, probably for the Stuttgart analysis that we will drop it next week if everything goes well. So yeah, it was a pleasure to have you on board again, and yeah, see you soon.
See you soon, Ruxi.
If you have passion for the game and you like this kind of content, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to our channel. It helps us to keep growing.